all these photographs, again, were taken by a total of maybe 14 or 15 photographers. And right now is probably a really good time to tell you about another event coming up soon. On April 6th, it's a Friday. I've been working with about 14 or 15 photographers over the last 5 months, and they've submitted some work to me, and I've picked out my favorite images from their work, and it's a series of about 30 images from 14 photographers that's going to open up again April 6th, called The Bald Eagles of the James River exhibition. There's a few of them out in the lobby. If you get a chance to check them out, feel free to, but it's going to be from 5 to 8 at the Richmond Camera Gallery in downtown Richmond. And there will hopefully be some information about it, around town in the newspaper, but if you get a chance, it should be it is a fantastic exhibit of work on the bald eagles. Now, this is Jefferson's Reach, and this is where I run my bald eagles tours. This is where I work on the river for the most part when it comes to my bald eagle tours, as well as the history tours as well. Right up here is Deep Bottom Boat Landing, and right there is the Richmond Yacht Basin. And it's about a 5-mile stretch. There's 5 pairs of resident bald eagles that live in this section. That's Banded, Variety and Enon, Virginia and James. This is titled Virginia and James. We now have a non-title Virginia and James for the folks that watch the Eagle Cam. This is Rebecca and John. That's Bubba and Pops. And one of the beautiful things about this is, didn't really know what was happening when I first started this, but we just decided to name a pair of eagles when they were residents. And it's really turned into something pretty wonderful because they are very territorial, these resident birds are. So when you get into their territories, you recognize them, you know who they are. And in some cases, they know, who we are too when we're out on my boat. Now these green dots represent resident bald eagles, but they're just outside of Jefferson's Reach. These purple dots, those are actual territories that are unclaimed, but this map is now dated because this past fall, a resident pair of eagles, or a pair of eagles, took up residency right here at the south end of Jones Neck. And they were here 2 years ago, they left, they've come back, they're still here. And hopefully they're sitting on eggs right now. And what really surprised me recently was that another pair of eagles built a nest right there. So it was kind of nice to see how a pair of eagles can move in where you just didn't think there was room for another pair, but they made room. People are asking me on occasion, where do I work, where do I run my trips? And I tell them on the James River and the tidal James in between Deep Bottom Boat Landing and the Richmond Yacht Basin. So, it's kind of difficult to explain that sometimes. Well, I want to tell you a quick story of a friend that I met a couple years ago. I was on the river and we had a meeting on my pontoon boat. There was some folks from the James River Association, some concerned citizens, a few people from the newspaper, and unbeknown to me at the time, 2 Chickahominy Indians came aboard to ride along, and we were having a meeting to talk about the Captain John Smith Water Trail and how we could get people down on the river to experience the river a little bit more. Well, during that trip, I met this Chickahominy Indian named Danny Jefferson, and he was the kind of guy that he just grabbed me. I mean, he spoke the truth, he spoke from the heart, and he was the kind of guy that you could tell would give it his all if he felt it was worth it. Well, during the trip, we were sitting here talking about how we could get people down on the river, and I started thinking, hey, we can run river trips on my boat. I can tell stories of John Smith, talk about his map of 1612. Danny Jefferson can come aboard, talk about times, from the Indian perspective, which is very different than what's written in the history books a lot of times. So as I'm thinking about this, I was listening for a while, waiting for the right time to bring it up. Well, Danny comes out and says, as little as 10 years ago, nobody wanted to have anything to do with an Indian. And now whenever anything's going on in the river, everybody wants an Indian. So, so I felt, maybe I better table this one for a little while. And Anyway, I figured it was meant to be, it's meant to be, but I did not bring it up on the trip. I felt a little out of place. Well, at the end of the trip, Danny came up to me and he said, Captain Mike, I want to thank you for helping me see the river like I haven't seen it in a long time. And inside, I'm going, wow, an Indian is telling me that I helped him see. So I felt like I was really onto something, doing something right. Well, I took that as an opportunity, and I asked him if he ever wanted to partner on the river, that I would love to. Well, he stuck his hand out and said he'd be honored. I stuck my hand out and I said I'd be honored. And that was really the beginning of a great friendship. And soon thereafter, we started running John Smith Water Trail tours. And it was kind of hard to get people on the boat. One of the first guys that got on the boat had the big puffy shirt, you know, the big John Smith shirt, so that was kind of interesting. We had a historian on the boat on the first trip, so he told us more about John Smith than we were able to tell him. Well, what Danny and I found is that people seem to be more interested in, you know, what landmass is this over here? You know, what's the difference between Pearl's Neck and Jones Neck? And what kind of bird is that up in that tree? Is that an osprey or an eagle? Or what's this flying up in the sky? So I had been thinking about the eagle tours for a while, I'd done a couple, and I asked Danny if he wanted to partner on some eagle tours. We could work on them together. And it was just a natural partnership right there. So over that winter of 2009 and 2010, we had this huge learning curve. We both learned all about these 5 pair of eagles right here. We learned their territories, we learned their habits, and they actually all got names too. And the way the birds get named is whenever we find a new resident pair, whoever's on the boat at the time gets to name them. But everybody has to agree, including the captain.